We are live.
Good morning, everyone. We are going to call the Planning Committee meeting for January to order. As this is the first meeting of the year, we are going to do elections for chair and vice chair to start the meeting off. So I'll look for nominations for chair, and you can nominate yourself. Councillor Van Tilburg.
I nominate Councillor Sicoli.
Councillor Sicoli, do you accept the nomination?
I do accept the nomination. Thank you.
Any other nominations for chair? Seeing no other nominations for chair, as Councillor Sicoli has sat previously as chair, we do have to do a waive the rules. So I'll look for a motion to put the waive the rules on the floor. Looking for a mover, Councillor Van Martin, seconder, Councillor Van Tilburg. And I'll just do a physical show of hands. I don't have this vote in eScribe. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you. Councillor Sicoli, you are acclaimed as chair. I'll look for nominations for vice chair. Councillor Sicoli.
I'd like to nominate Councillor Greg Martin, please.
Councillor Martin, do you accept the nomination? Thank you. Any other nominations for chair or vice chair? Sorry. Seeing no other nominations for vice chair, Councillor Martin, you are acclaimed as vice chair. Councillor Sicoli, you have the notes in front of you there. Go ahead.
Thank you so much, Madam Clerk. Roll call has been taken.
Through the chair, roll has been taken.
Perfect. And I'll just note, Mayor Kevin Davis regrets he could not attend today, but recent events at the Police Services Board required his attention to be present there today. Wanted to make sure I shared that with everyone here. So any declaration of conflict of interest, I do believe we have one. Councillor Van Tilburg.
Yes, I have a conflict of interest. I have a relative that has property adjacent to the development.
Fair enough. Thank you so much. Separation of items for consideration. We do have the minutes there. Would anyone like those separated? All right, seeing none. Can I get a mover or seconder to put the minutes on the floor? Moved by Councillor Sluss, seconded by Councillor Martin. We'll call the vote.
The minutes carry on recorded vote of 5-0. Those voting in favor, Councillor Sicoli, Sluss, Martin, Carpenter, and Van Tilburg.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. There is one public meeting on today's agenda. I believe this is the item that Councillor Van Tilburg has a conflict with, so you drove all the way in just for that. Thank you very much. We thank you for your service. So we have this one public meeting on today's agenda. The public meeting is being held in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act. The purpose of this public hearing is really to hear from all sides, all parties, and get some feedback on what everybody is feeling about this proposed zoning amendment. At the end, the committee will pass a recommendation, which will be generally considered at a council meeting later this month. The name of anyone who wants to speak will appear in the meeting minutes. So when you do come up, you'll be asked to provide your name and your address to the clerk. The applicant will speak first, just so everyone knows. Then it'll be followed by city staff who'll give a presentation, and then we will hear from members of the public. Everyone will have 10 minutes to speak, and that's inclusive of questions from the committee. The applicant at the end of all of that will have 5 minutes if they have any comments that they want to ask, provide clarification to any of the comments that they heard rather during the meeting. So as a reminder, the rules of decorum do apply here. So no one is going to hold up any signs or banners or make any rude gestures while they're giving their presentation. So we will move right into it. We have a zoning bylaw amendment for 342 to 346 West Street. So I will now call upon the applicant or the applicant's agent to approach the desk up here, and you'll provide your presentation to committee. And again, that's 10 minutes inclusive of questions. And if I could just grab your names as well, please.
To turn your mic on, press the button on the right-hand side on the base of your microphone.
Perfect. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Amelia Sloan. I'm here with Stantec Consulting. We're the agent on this file. I'm also here with Sharon Yen from Stantec as well, and Anna Hansen. Thank you for the opportunity to present on this application today. And also good morning to members of the committee and staff and members of the public that are in attendance. The subject lands we're looking at today are 342 and 346 West Street. The site here, site description would be on this slide. So the site is approximately 0.24 hectares and currently has 2 single detached dwellings on the 2 properties. Surrounding land uses include low density residential to the north and to the east, retail and service commercial uses to the south, and a large vacant property to the west, which according to the city's open data portal, this property is slated for a future mixed-use development, which includes 2 7-story apartment buildings. This slide goes over the application history a bit. We wanted to talk a little bit about what happened previous to this iteration of the plan. A neighborhood open house was held May 6, 2024, in which 3 members of the public were in attendance. We discussed the previous version of the proposed development, which is on the screen here to the right. And that was based on the previous zoning bylaw for the city. So a new zoning bylaw came into effect at the end of 2024. As such, the development concept has since been revised and adheres to new provisions in the 2024 zoning bylaw. This includes incorporating a 3-story podium and a step back for the tower component of the building, as well as additional indoor and outdoor amenity space and elevated landscaped open space.
So the figure on the right there is the latest version of the proposed development. The proposed development involves the consolidation of 2 existing single detached residential lots, which are proposed to be redeveloped into a 10-story apartment building, including 90 units, comprising a mix of 1 and 2 bedroom units, which may appeal to younger professionals within the neighborhood. The revised proposal includes 89 parking spaces, which will include designated visitor parking, and some of the additional spaces are being provided through an automated parking lift system. All the proposed parking spaces will be fully enclosed within a parking garage with 1 level of underground parking as well as 1 level of ground floor parking. Access from West Street will lead into the parking garage. Next slide, please. The revised development concept includes a 3-story podium, which is intended to maintain the pedestrian-friendly streetscape and keep the building base at a human scale. With a step back of the tower component of the building, so that's floors 4 to 10, in order to reduce the visual impacts of the streetscape. The first floor has a floor-to-ceiling height of 4.5 meters, which includes ground floor level parking, as well as the lobby entrance to the apartment. There are no windows nor residential units on the first floor. The elevated landscaped open space can be accessed on the second floor and provides additional outdoor amenity space for future residents. Next slide, please. The subject lands are currently designated intensification corridor in the city's official plan, which is identified as a strategic growth area in the city. The land use designation is intended to accommodate significant growth where intensification is encouraged. Within this designation, standalone high-rise residential buildings with a minimum height requirement of 3 stories, as proposed in this development, are permitted. Next slide, please. The subject lands are currently zoned intensification corridor in the City of Brantford zoning bylaw. Within the existing zone, an apartment building is permitted up to 38 meters in height. A zoning compliance table is provided in the next 4 slides in order to identify the special provisions needed to support the proposed development. For the sake of time, we'll breeze through some of these next 4 slides, but all of the regulations highlighted in red is where zoning relief would be required in order to facilitate the proposed development. So on this slide here is a summary of special provisions being requested as part of this zoning bylaw amendments.
While the city's draft bylaw amendment and staff report recommends imposing a height restriction on the subject lands, we are kindly asking that planning committee consider removing this height restriction from the list of special provisions, as the current zoning bylaw permits a height of up to 38 meters for an apartment building in the intensification zone. And given that this provision has been voted on by council and passed with the implementation of the 2024 zoning bylaw. So we would like to maintain the permitted height of 38 meters and avoid imposing additional zoning restrictions on the site if relief for that provision is not required. The permitted height of 38 meters would be beneficial in providing some height allowance leeway for future mechanical equipment and a mechanical penthouse. Next slide, please. So numerous supporting studies have been completed by the applicant to assess the feasibility and appropriateness for this development on the subject lands, which have all been accepted by the city. Next slide, please. Some of the concerns we've heard from the public are shown on the screen and fall within the general themes of traffic congestion, appropriateness of development on the site, safety concerns, density of development and setback reductions, and parking reduction and needs, as well as impacts on existing infrastructure. Next slide, please. In regards to traffic congestion, a traffic study was completed to the satisfaction of the city's transportation staff. The study accounts for a future scenario that includes the forecast traffic of the two future developments along West Street. And it was determined that the traffic generated by this development would not significantly increase traffic volumes beyond what is forecasted in the future without this development. As for the locational appropriateness of the development, the subject lands are located on an arterial road and within a strategic growth area where the intensification and infill development is encouraged. The proposed use and building height is permitted in the existing land use designation and zone. In terms of safety concerns, the location of snow storage can be moved at the site plan approval stage. And as part of the transportation impact study, site access and vehicle circulation has been assessed. And further, the site distance guidelines established by the Transportation Association of Canada has been met as determined by the transportation impact study. In regards to the density and setback reductions, the proposed setback reductions on the south and west side do not abut existing low density residential uses, therefore minimizing the impact. The rear yard setback reduction is being requested due to the future city road widening that is being requested from staff. As for the parking reductions, a parking study and parking demand survey has been completed by our traffic consultants, and the proposed rate of 0.98 spaces per unit was the highest observed utilization out of the apartment buildings surveyed. The city's strategic directions report also determined that the parking utilization rate for apartment buildings generally ranges from 0.77 to 0.99 spaces per unit. So the number of parking spaces we are providing in this application are generally at the high end of what has been observed within the city. Additional spaces have been added with parking stackers, and the applicant has been working with city staff the past year, and the agreed upon 0.98 spaces per unit is deemed acceptable. As for the impact on infrastructure, the application has been circulated to appropriate agencies and school boards in the region, and we have not received any comments or objections from any of these agencies. So yeah, we are available for any questions. Thank you.
We do have a few questions. Councillor Martin.
Thank you. The number of parking spaces, is that 98 without using the stackers, or is that including the stackers?
So, oh, sorry, through the chair. The number of parking spaces provided is 89 spaces for the 90 units. So that's a rate of 0.98 spaces per unit. And that is including the parking stackers. Thank you.
Okay, so if my car is lifted up on a lift and somebody else is underneath and I want to go, what happens then?
Through the chair, I believe the parking stacker system is an automated lift system, but this can be further discussed and evaluated at the site plan stage. Thank you.
But if there's a car below mine, how is it possible to get my car out?
If I could add through you, Madam Chair, I think it would be a similar situation if you had a tandem parking. So like if you were parking behind someone, you would need to move the parking, the space, the car under the lift system to be able to exit. So it would be similar to allowing a tandem space. It's just kind of a vertical tandem space with an automated lift system to save room.
So nobody's gonna wanna use those spots, which reduces the number of parking spots that are effective. Okay, and where does an emergency vehicle pull up in front of the building? There's no room for emergency services in front of the building.
I think Anna, the client, wants to say something about the parking stackers, if that's
Okay.
permitted.
Sorry, good morning, everyone. Through the chair, to address the parking stackers, we are still looking at finalizing the idea for that and kind of how that would work. But the plan that we're looking at currently would be that just because you drive under it, like it's not a two-way stacker, like it's basically if the car is going to go under you, it will not prevent you from leaving. So that's the option that we're looking at right now because we didn't want to block the car on top from not being able to leave it if there's a car downstairs. So there are options available for that. So I just wanted to correct my colleagues because I'm more involved in that process.
Can you explain how that would work? Because if there's a car underneath, I don't see how you can lower the car that's raised.
So it would almost be like the car would go up and it would go slide over. So it'd be almost like a mosaic, the way I look at it in my head. So like if it goes up and goes to the side, and if there's a car on the left, it would come over and come down and leave. So each tenant that would have the assigned car spaces in the stacker, they would have a fob, and they would put the fob next to, like kind of click the fob, and then the car would come out. But it would not be blocked by any other vehicle. So that's the option that we are looking at right now.
Okay, and what about emergency vehicles?
So that's something that we'll work through with this through the site plan approval process. We are aware, and then that I think we will be focusing on that. With this project, we wanted to just kind of abide with the current zoning bylaw, and then the access we will discuss.
Okay, because I don't see any place for Uber or emergency vehicles or deliveries to pull up without parking on the street and blocking traffic.
Yes, I understand. We are a bit limited with the road widening and what we can do there, but like I said, we are aware of this issue, and then we will address it with the site plan and with the city.
Sorry, we've just exceeded 10 minutes. Do we, I do
you.
have Counselor Suss still waiting. Did we want to increase the time limit for questions here? Moved by Counselor Martin. Do we have a time? Want to add another 5 minutes, 10 minutes? Another 5 minutes for questioning. Do I have a seconder for that? Looking at the gentleman online. Is there a seconder? Okay, Counselor Suss, we'll call the vote to add an additional 5 minutes for questions of the applicant.
The motion for an additional 5 minutes carries on our record vote of 4-0. Those voting in favor, Councillor Sokoli, Sless, Martin, and Carpenter.
Thank you. Counselor Suss, you're up next.
Thank you. I'm curious, your traffic study indicates that the number of cars projected to be living in this building will not have a significant impact on the road system, which is probably true. But how do they access it? You're in the middle of a hill. The hill has occasionally been shut down in the winter because of dangerous conditions when there's snow and ice. I'm very curious how one would exit that building and turn left. Can you explain that to me, how that would work?
Through the chair, we have had multiple discussions with the city about this, and we are working on a solution to make it as safe as possible with kind of the plan, the future plans for the road winding and trying to find timing for when that'll happen. That I think that'll affect how we do things. We did discuss an option for like a right in, right out so that it will not be left allowed going up the hill. But again, that's something that I think we will discuss at the site plan approval process and kind of work with the city to make this as safe as possible. There's no other alternative access, unfortunately, for the sites because we are locked in from all the other sites. So West Street is the only option.
Okay. Would it be the same as entering the property?
Again, if that's the option that we'll have, like we agree with, then yes, it'll be going into the property, just making it be able to make a right-hand turn. But this is something that, like I said, we've spoken with the city about, and then depending on how the road widening timing works out.
Okay. And final question, is your project feasible if you take one story off? If you went from 8 to 7?
We would have to look at it. As you know, the construction costs and everything right now are very difficult. But that's not something that I can answer off the top of my head. But we are trying to make this, you know, trying to find the right balance between density, but as well making the rents tolerable, right? I don't want to say affordable, but we are aware that there's a need for appropriately priced rents in the market and over the next few years. So it is that balancing act between being able to actually build this building and then provide appropriate rents. We're also working with, if you did, because I know there's hospitals and colleges, universities in the area. So we are looking to provide some rent incentives to like young professionals coming into the area that would be utilizing either like working at the hospital or the fire station. So that's one of the options we're looking as well to kind of offset the density that we're proposing on the site.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Seeing no further questions. Nope, okay. We're finished with you guys at this point. Thank you very much. We're going to move forward to city staff to present the application. I believe we have Dora. 10 minutes inclusive of questions. The floor is yours.
Okay. Hello, committee members. My name is Dora Call. I'm an intermediate planner here at the city, and I'll be presenting on the zoning bylaw amendment before you today. So the applicant already discussed the proposed development in detail. So just to summarize, the application will facilitate the development of a 10-story apartment building containing 90 units and 98 parking spaces. Or 89, sorry. These are photos of the subject lands for reference. They show the front of the two subject properties. As you can see, the first parcel is vacant and boarded up. So the subject lands are located south of Charing Cross Street and north of Galileo Boulevard. The surrounding uses are highlighted in yellow on the screen there. The neighborhood features low-rise dwellings, commercial, and general office uses. I would like to highlight the two developments that are currently under construction in the neighborhood. So directly, I don't know if I can point. So no, I don't think the pointer works. Directly behind the subject lands, you'll see there on the screen, that's where a development for one apartment building and one mixed-use buildings are going in, both 7 stories in height. And then further south, past the commercial plaza, is a development for 2 apartment buildings, both 3 stories in height. Both developments point to the changing built form in the neighborhood. West Street is an arterial road, which means that it's designed to move large volumes of traffic. And since West Street can accommodate more traffic, it's meant to function as a connective spine in the city. For this reason, many properties along West Street, including the subject lands, are designated as an intensification corridor in the city's official plan. These corridors are where the city is aiming to see intensification, infrastructure investment, and infill developments. If we look at the overarching provincial planning statement, it encourages redevelopment of underutilized land, which takes advantage of existing infrastructure. So the proposed department will intensify the underutilized land and use existing infrastructure as encouraged in the official plan and PPS. So through the zoning amendment, the applicant is seeking relief from 6 zoning provisions listed on the screen here. To summarize, the first 3 relate to reducing setbacks of the building to lot lines. The 4th relates to increasing the floor plate size of the building. And the last 2 relate to parking, the 5th being to reduce the required parking by 15 spaces. And the 6th relates to changing the access of the bike parking to the underground level. After public notice was sent out, staff received several comments from the public. The main concerns centered around the traffic and parking potentially worsening, the built form and density not being appropriate, and potential negative impacts on existing infrastructure. The public comments very much coincided with the development considerations that staff analyzed when determining if the requested relief was appropriate. So I'll go through each of the considerations now. For parking, traffic, and access, a study was prepared, and the study was based on a terms of reference which transportation staff was satisfied with. The study analyzed the impact of the forecasted trips on the intersections between Charing Cross Street and Galileo Boulevard, as you can see on the figure on the screen. It found no significant changes in the conditions of the intersections compared to existing traffic conditions. This was a conclusion even when taking into account the forecasted trips from the developments that are currently under construction that I mentioned earlier. Related to existing traffic conditions, I would like to highlight that the city is currently undertaking an environmental assessment, an EA, to potentially widen the intersection at West Street and Charing Cross. This is with the aim to improve existing traffic conditions. The construction timeline has not yet been determined, but the early anticipated start is Q3 of 2027. In terms of parking, the parking study analyzed parking surveys of similar buildings in Brantford. It found that the highest parking rate observed was 0.98 spaces per unit, and this is what the proposed development is utilizing. When analyzing the built form and urban design, staff looked at privacy, shadowing, and visual massing impacts. Based on the shadow study and the context of the surrounding rear and west side properties where the relief is being requested, staff found that privacy or shadow impacts would be minimal. Staff also concluded that the building's design elements, including the receding stories, the variation materials, window placement, and architectural detailings enhance the overall urban design and help to reduce the visual massing of the building. And just a quick note on that. So the bylaw does allow for 12 stories in height, but since staff analyzed the proposal for 10 stories, we recommend a provision to limit the height to just 10 stories. And this was included in the draft bylaw. Relating to public concerns about impacts on existing infrastructure, there will be detailed plans such as stormwater management, servicing, lighting plans that are required for the future site plan application. This will ensure the development meets municipal standards. Future modeling will confirm if any off-site upgrades are necessary, and since modeling hasn't been completed for the development yet, staff recommend a holding provision until that modeling is completed. So in conclusion, the proposed apartment building is a permitted use in the zoning bylaw and official plan. Staff believe that the requested site-specific provisions are appropriate. The proposal is also consistent with the PPS policies that promote infill development and the use of existing infrastructure. For these reasons, staff recommend approval of this zoning bylaw amendment application. This concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to take any planning related questions.
Thank you. Any questions of staff? Councilor Carpenter.
Yes, to staff. So we're staff suggesting, because they're suggesting a holding provision put on this property as well. Are you suggesting nothing can move forward till till after West Street is widened and we put the queuing lane in for Harris Ave and provided the other access lanes on West Street? That's my question.
Through the chair, no, so the holding is very specific to just modeling for servicing capacity. It's often common that modeling hasn't been done at the zoning stage yet. So sometimes we put a holding until that modeling is completed to see the capacity and if any offsite upgrades are necessary.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Seeing no other questions, I do have a question, and it's regarding the parking system that is proposed. I can't remember the name of it, stacking. Seems slightly odd to me. I'm kind of getting the mosaic component, but that only would really work at the end, and maybe it's just so new that we're not able to conceptualize that, but I do worry that it's gonna end up being like a tandem thing. And how many times do we in the city approve tandem parking spots amongst strangers, like amongst strangers? It'd be two people in two different units that don't know each other that would have to coordinate removing vehicles. Is that what you're understanding?
Through the chair, I'm not exactly sure about how many times we've approved tandem parking, but to speak to the stacker specifically, that system hasn't been finalized, and through the zoning application, we are approving a parking rate. So regardless of how the applicant manages to meet our standards for parking, they will have to meet a specific number of parking for the development. I can pass it on to transportation if they have any comments about the parking stacker system.
Through to the chair, Jeff Maderos, Manager of Development Planning with the city. For the purpose of zoning, Dora is correct. As the bylaw reads, it's established at a rate at 0.98 spaces per unit. This notion and this discussion of the stacker really is a detailed design item. What I would say is the city would not necessarily approve a system if it doesn't function properly. And normally that level of assessment will come in at the site plan control stage.
Sorry, if they can't achieve their target of 0.89 parking spots, they cannot move forward and build, correct?
Correct. I mean, parking has a direct correlation to the number of units. So in theory, what that could mean is the number of units would be reduced, which would change the proposal.
Okay, that makes me feel better. Thank you very much. Seeing no further questions, we'll move on to the public portion of this meeting. So we'll open the floor to members of the public who are seeking to speak to this item. So if there are any members of the public, either here in chambers or online, just sort of flag me down and I'll invite you up. When you do get up here, you will have to mention your name and your address. Are there any members of the public looking to speak to this item? Sorry, I thought I saw your hand go up. Anybody here looking to speak to this item? I have to ask 3 times, so you're going to hear it one more time. If somebody is online, you can use the raise hand function to draw our attention to you. But are there any other members of the public looking to speak to this item today? All right, seeing none, we will move forward. We do have a clarification portion for the applicant. So if the applicant would like to take advantage of these final 5 minutes and address any concerns or comments, you have the opportunity now to approach the committee. Would you like to? Okay, go on up.
Hello again, through the chair about the parking stackers, because I know it's a new idea that probably hasn't been done in the city before. So like staff said that, you know, we are agreeing to the 0.98 parking ratio, and then we're looking at different ways to accommodate that parking ratio. And the system that we are proposing has been done in Hamilton previously, like, so it's something that might not have been done in Brantford, but it has been utilized in other locations. And we are looking to work with the city closely. It was actually their suggestion, if I may say so, like on that type of stacker that we're looking at using. So I know it's new, but bear with us and we will discuss this more at the site plan approval stage. As well to kind of address the 10-story height restriction that the city suggested. The reason why we're asking to potentially remove this is like we mentioned, it's not required for a specific development because it is under the currently approved 38 meters, but also because of the kind of geography of the site and everything, and where we are in the process, our engineers or our structural engineers haven't really looked at the site. So there might be some height variations that might be needed depending on, where the groundwater is or where we end up on that hill. So that's why we're asking to remove that provision, just to make sure that we don't have to seek other reductions after the fact. And I'm not sure if it's allowed, but I'm happy to answer any questions if there are still.
That time has passed, that ship has sailed. But you do have a few more minutes. We're content?
I'm
Rita?
content, thank you.
Great, thank you so much. All right, we'll move to the debate and the decision portion. So I'm gonna need a mover and a seconder to get this on the floor so that we can chat about it. Any volunteers? Councillor Martin, seconded by, looking at my gentleman online, Councillor Sless, thank you so much. Okay, so we have this on the floor. Are there any speakers? Councillor Martin, kicking things off.
Yeah, thank you. Looking at the parking situation, as they described, leaving certain spots open for the lift to work reduces the number of parking spots from the count that they show in the plans. So I don't see how they're going to be able to meet the parking requirements. There's no place for emergency vehicles or drop off. And I'm not sure how people get to visitor parking if it's in the underground. Normally there's a limited access to the underground, and visitors won't have a card or a key or whatever to access it. And the setback reduction of 8.5 meters is huge. I think that's too excessive for what's being proposed here. I don't have a problem with apartment building going on the site, but this one just covers too much of the site. There isn't any amenity space around it. So I can't support this as it's presented. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Martin. Councillor Sless.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I have a number of concerns with this proposal. It looks like it's too much on too little. We're really starting to jam it in there, and I don't think it fits very well. I can't imagine exiting that building. I know there's right in, right out, and that can be dictated, but it doesn't mean that it's going to be complied with. You'd have to really go out of your way if you lived in that building, if you are heading down to King George Road, which is where a lot of the commercial activity will take place. It's one of those cases you can't get there from here. You're going to turn the wrong way because you can't turn the right way to get up the hill to get to where you want to get to. So I just see so many problems. We're creating problems that don't need to be created. That perhaps if we downsize the size and the scale of the project, you might stand a chance there will be less opportunity for people breaking the law and turning right, because they're going to do it anyway. You can tell them not to, but it doesn't mean they're going to. So having said all of that, it just looks like there's too many things that have to be worked out during the site plan approval process. And they're big things. They're not little things like where is the garbage going to be or where are you going to put the snow. These are major problems with this project that supposedly are going to be worked out during site plan approval. And I don't think that's the place to take on that major of changes to a project. So having said that, I won't be supporting this, but I would like to mention that a number of people were concerned that the meeting was this morning at 9:30 and that they weren't able to attend. I would encourage those folks, if they want to have their nickels worth, they can come on the 27th and they can speak to this at the city council meeting. And that's at 6 o'clock on the 27th. So I would encourage folks that were concerned they couldn't make it today. They can make it on the 27th. It is an evening meeting, and I would encourage them to come if they have something that they would like to share with the community. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much. Counselor Carpenter.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You're doing a fine job. I have a number of concerns that have already been expressed by both the Ward 3 and Ward 2 councillors. This is a Ward 3 project, but it does affect West Street, which is the other side in Ward 4. I got a lot of concerns with the traffic issues as well. I mean, if you talk to any of the residents on West Street, they'll tell you there's an accident a week almost on that street. Pretty regular, there's accidents on that street. That hill specifically is very congested. I know the other developments that are on that property that were mentioned in the planning report will have access to Galileo, and we're going to be making adjustments to that interchange with Galileo, and we're going to make adjustments to the roadway on West Street to widen it and to put a larger queuing lane in for people turning left onto Harris going southbound on West. But until those things are done, this project's a no-go because it doesn't have the infrastructure capacity from the city to handle the current traffic, let alone future adding more traffic. So, Madam Chair, I think this application is premature for not having anything in there that recommends that nothing moves forward until all the road infrastructure is finished. So those are serious concerns. I would support a deferral if someone brings that forward, and so that all the money spent on this project isn't just for naught, and they could actually come back with a better proposal and timing with the city's road infrastructure plans. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll just speak as the first time speaker. And I will point out that this is an intensification corridor, and so it's well within the developer's purview to add some population density here. And I'm actually okay with amending the height restrictions as they were looking to do. But I do think that this project, as it's presented, just crosses the line into too dense. And it's kind of bordering into inappropriate for this area. And aside from the lack of, appropriate space on the perimeter for access, for snow removal, and for first responders, as it looks right now, it really does nothing to cater to the modern day realities. Where's an Amazon driver going to pull over? Where's an Uber driver going to pull over? They're gonna stop on West Street. We know they are. There's even a pathway from West Street to the front door. So they're gonna pull over on West, and they're gonna run in, and that's just gonna absolutely cripple the flow of traffic there. And I know we're looking at a zoning amendment. We're not at the site plan stage, and I hate to confuse the two, but I truly do feel that if we approve the amendments today and the setbacks, that we are going to see something similar to what is conceptually presented here. And because why not? Why wouldn't you, right? If you have the space, you would. And I just don't think that that's wise. And as cool as it would be truly to see the city's first stacker system being installed, I think that would be a really cool parking system to see start rolling out here in our city. I just can't support these amendments. I think it deviates a little too far from our zoning bylaw. I think it would overpower the neighborhood, and I think it would completely impede the flow of traffic there. And there's nothing more frustrating than rush hour on West Street and some guys pulled over to the side and everyone's trying to merge over. I just foresee that this is how it's going to roll out. So I'm not going to be supporting this today either. It sounds like everybody's almost on the same page, and I'll just let the committee know that if we do not approve this, we will have to attach a reason as to why, and we do have some proposed reasons here. So saying that, are there any second time speakers? Councillor Martin.
Yes, thank you. Councillor Sluss reminded me about the right in, right out. Currently, there's that situation for the Tim Hortons further down on West Street. And that's on a level section of West Street instead of the hill. And there's people that utilize that, even though they have an entrance off Dundas. So somebody coming north on West Street could easily turn onto Dundas and go in that way. But I've seen many times people making the left-hand turn from West Street into Tim Hortons when it's not supposed to be allowed and it's not necessary. This building doesn't have any alternative. So people who are coming up West Street, they want to go to that building, they're going to be stopping on that hill. If it's wintertime and icy, they might have trouble getting going again, which would facilitate backing down the hill with a bunch of traffic behind them. So it's going to be a disaster the way this is set up. And you know, unless they can acquire more property or make deals with neighbors about access in and out of this facility, this property, it's going to be a problem no matter what they do. Because only having the one entrance on West Street is going to be problematic because people don't always obey the right in, right out.
Thank you. Seeing no further speakers in the queue, we'll call the vote.
Item 5.1 is lost on a recorded vote of 0 to 4. Those opposed, Councillors Sokoli, Slass, Martin, and Carpenter.
Okay, so we will need to put a reason for the refusal on the floor to vote on that. I believe, Councillor Martin, you have some suggestions you want to offer.
Yes, I'd like to move that we indicate that this isn't being approved for reasons A and G on here, which A is proposed development deviates from applicable zoning bylaw, and G, the proposed level of intensification is not appropriate. Seeking a seconder.
Seeking a second. Councillor Slash seconding that. Is that everything that aligns there, Madam Clerk? Can we see it on the screen? Yes, please. Okay, any discussion on what's on the floor here? The reason for refusal? Seeing none, we'll call the vote to add this reason for refusal.
The motion for the refusal of 5.1 is carried on a recorded vote of 4 to 0. Those voting in favor, Councillors Sokoli, Slass, Martin, and Carpenter.
Okay, so this will move forward to council as presented on the 27th of this month. We have no presentations or delegations. There's no further items for consideration, no notice of motions. So this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.